A quiet afternoon in a luxury store takes a shocking turn when a young customer is wrongfully accused, unaware of his true identity. It was a busy afternoon on Fifth Avenue, and Marcus Anderson, a 22-year-old black man, was walking calmly through the luxurious high-end store Iconique, known for its exclusive items and wealthy clientele. He wore casual clothes, jeans, a simple t-shirt, and a light jacket, while exploring the latest collections of clothes and accessories. Marcus was the son of Richard Anderson, the owner of the renowned chain of luxury stores. However, Marcus preferred to keep his identity discreet and often visited the stores without drawing attention, simply to connect with the atmosphere and check out the products. On that day, he was there to browse a few items quietly. However, as he walked through the store, the manager, Melissa, a middle-aged white woman with an arrogant demeanor, began watching him with suspicion. Full of biases, Melissa immediately assumed that Marcus didn't fit the typical profile of Iconique's customers. To her, it was unthinkable that a young black man could be there for legitimate reasons. Without wasting time, Melissa discreetly picked up the phone and called security. Minutes later, Officer Mark, a white man with a history of aggressive confrontations, entered the store, notified by the manager that there was a potential suspect. Without any investigation or prior conversation, Mark walked straight to Marcus, who was at that moment inspecting a leather jacket. "Hey kid," Mark said, his voice authoritative as he approached Marcus. "I need to talk to you." Marcus looked at him, surprised, not understanding the reason for this approach. "Sure, what's going on?" Marcus asked, staying calm. "We got a report that you're trying to steal items from this store," Mark stated, without even asking for an explanation, already assuming Marcus was guilty. Marcus was stunned, unable to believe what he was hearing. "This is a mistake," Marcus responded, still in shock. "I'm just looking at the clothes. I didn't do anything wrong." Melissa, who had approached to watch up close, crossed her arms and nodded her head as if she was entirely convinced she was right. "He's been walking around the store suspiciously. I'm sure he was planning to steal something," Melissa said with a satisfied grin. Without even checking the security cameras or asking other employees, Mark moved closer to Marcus and grabbed his arm. "Open your backpack. Now," the officer ordered, without giving him a chance to explain. Marcus began to feel humiliated. People around started to watch, whispering among themselves. He wasn't being treated like a customer but like a criminal, without any apparent reason other than the color of his skin. "I'm not opening my backpack. I didn't steal anything," Marcus replied, trying to remain calm but feeling indignation rising. Mark, impatient, wasn't willing to listen. Without further delay, he handcuffed Marcus in front of everyone, increasing the shame and discomfort. The sound of the handcuffs echoed through the luxurious halls of Iconique, and the tension in the air was palpable. At the exact moment Marcus was being handcuffed, the store's door opened again, and Richard Anderson entered. He was there to meet his son for lunch, but froze when he saw Marcus detained and humiliated in front of everyone. For a moment, Richard was in shock, unable to believe what he was witnessing. Without wasting more time, Richard rushed to where they were. "What the hell is going on here?" Richard exclaimed, his voice filled with authority and concern. Mark, hearing Richard's voice, stopped and looked at him with a confused expression. He didn't know who this man was, but judging by how other employees looked at Richard, it was clear that he held an important position. "Who are you?" Mark asked, his voice still arrogant. Richard looked directly at Melissa and the officer. "I'm Richard Anderson, owner of this store, and this is my son you're unjustly handcuffing," he stated firmly, his voice low but full of authority. Mark and Melissa froze. The shock was immediate. Melissa's face turned pale, her mouth agape, unable to utter a word. She had never imagined that the young man she had accused of theft could be the owner's son. Mark, on the other hand, started to stammer, trying to find a justification for his actions. "Mr. Anderson, I got a report. I was just following protocol," he said, clearly nervous. Richard stepped forward, looking directly at the officer. "Your protocol is to handcuff a young man without any proof? Without even investigating? Is this your idea of justice?" Richard said, his anger beginning to show in his voice. Mark, realizing he was in an impossible situation to justify, quickly removed the handcuffs from Marcus. I didn't know, sir. He didn't say who he was, Melissa tried to explain, her voice trembling. Richard turned to her with a stern look. He didn't need to say who he was. You should treat all customers with respect, no matter who they are. Humiliation and tension hung in the air as Marcus rubbed his wrists, trying to relieve the discomfort caused by the handcuffs. Richard looked at Melissa and made an immediate decision. Melissa, you're fired. This store doesn't need managers who judge people based on their appearance, Richard said firmly. Melissa tried to mutter a defense, but she didn't have the chance. She knew there was no excuse for what she had done. Mark, on the other hand, tried to justify himself one last time. Mr. Anderson was just doing my job, he said, his voice growing weaker. Your job is to protect people, not humiliate them, Richard responded. I'll make sure your department knows exactly what happened here today. This won't go unpunished. The next day, the incident dominated the headlines of local newspapers. Iconic issued a public apology and committed to implementing rigorous anti-racism training. The NYPD launched an investigation into the officer's conduct, and Mark faced serious consequences for his actions. Although shaken by the incident, Marcus felt strengthened by having his father by his side and knowing that the episode wouldn't go unaddressed. He understood that the fight against racism was long, but he was determined not to let prejudice defeat him. If you enjoyed this story and want more captivating tales, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Join us and never miss out on our latest stories.